Welcome home, neighbors.
Hello, neighbors.
We're listening from
Arizona,
Florida,
Maryland, New York,
New
Jersey,
Indianapolis,
California,
Utah,
Michigan,
Iowa,
Massachusetts,
Georgia, Canada,
Our home resort is
Animal Kingdom,
Polynesian,
Bay Lake Tower,
Old Key West,
Riviera,
Boardwalk,
Alani Resort,
Hilton Head,
Boulder Ridge, Copper Creek,
Grand Floridian,
Saratoga Springs.
Beach Club.
and Wilderness Lodge.
And you're listening to
and you're listening
You're listening
to
my
Hey everybody, welcome to a special episode of the DVC Newscast where we're going to talk about our experiences at the very first Jollywood Nights. There's been a lot of reports out there from folks and we wanted to give our 2 cents. I'm here with Shannon.
Hello.
And with Gina.
Hi, so glad to be on your show. This is my first time.
I know.
That's
I used to
true,
be.
yeah.
I used to be on the community hall,
I
and then when I came over here, so we haven't been on a show together in a while.
Yeah, it's been a few. It's been a
Yeah,
few
I see Gina a lot over on the Plus Platoon, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, this is the first time on here. But so we were all at this event on November 11th, the very first one. Even though we were like I was texting both Shannon and Gina throughout the night, we never managed to kind of cross paths. I guess at one point Gina said they passed me in the crowd and then I disappeared or something like that.
Yep.
But so we all had different experiences, but we all had some similar opinions.
Yes.
Right. So I think let's start with the pros of the event.
Yes. I think that's a good place to start.
What we
and
did
there were some.
And
there were some.
There were some. I mean, I would say I can start from my point of view. I had my expectations very low for this event. I'm not a fan of the hard ticket events. I think in my experience, they're typically overcrowded and many things are hard to do. And it never seems like you have enough time. So I was expecting a lot of that. So we planned accordingly with that. And we focused on the 2 things that I think worked the best, which were the rides and the 2 shows. I guess I'll start with the rides, and particularly Rise of the Resistance. There was a virtual queue that you could click in on that started at 8 p.m. The actual party started at 8:30. When I clicked on it at 8 p.m., they do the thing where you can refresh it, and I got boarding group 5.
Yeah.
And basically it was one of the first boarding groups. So right at 8:30, we were allowed into the ride. We actually did the 3 Star Wars rides right in a row. We actually did Star Tours a little before the party started. So like 8 o'clock. And then we went to Rise, literally walk on to Rise. It was, they made us walk through the entire queue, which made no sense. I don't know why. We didn't get to go through the lightning lane. They said they were using that for the DAS pass, but that didn't really make sense to me anyways. So, right. I mean, from what I understood, they weren't even acknowledging DAS pass.
They weren't. You just went through. I don't know. Yeah.
But other than that we had to walk through, and it wasn't the entire, like it cut most of the outside part, but we had to walk through a lot of the queue. We were in there. We were in the, the big ship that gets shot down. There were like 10 of us in that ship. So there was basically no one riding the ride. And we found that with the other rides, Smuggler's Run, we were able to walk right up to. Later in the night, we rode Mickey's Runaway Railway. We walked onto that, even though it was closed for part of the evening because we tried to go to it before.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was actually down for a little while. Then
that makes sense because we did get stuck on it. So
yeah,
right before the party started, or actually as the party started, we were stuck on it for a few minutes.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. This was later in the evening because it was probably around 11 that it was down. And then by midnight, it was back up again. Those were the only rides we did, though, those 4 rides. So what about, let's talk about rides. Were you guys able to do rides or?
Yeah, we got there 6:55. We parked. 6:55 was when we parked. We did drive, and we actually, when we were parking, I told Ray, go to the right where preferred is, because we knew it was day guests were leaving, and we'll try and park as close, to preferred. And then we'll park at the last standard, and there should be spots. And then they brought us all the way down. I mean, we were so close. I've never been so close. Even when I've paid for preferred, we were close. We were like right across right from the Skyliner. on the end. It was thank God, because with the rain at the end of the night, it worked out. Getting in was a little bit hard. So the first thing we did was ride Tower of Terror, and we rode Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway before the party started. And we probably would have been off the ride. And Mickey's at that point, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway was a walk on because it was after park close. So it was 8:00. So we just walked right on. And there was a little bit of people in front of us, but we got stuck for like 5 minutes, but it was at the end. So like right before you get off. And like behind where they are, where the fireworks is. And then we were stuck for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. So we got off the ride, I think around 8:35. So those were the first thing. And that was our plan for like we were going to maybe do Slinky Dog, but at that point we had decided we're not going to do any more rides. That changed because of other circumstances. So at the end of the night, we did do, one point Ryder and Ray, while I went to get a drink, they went to do Tower. While I was at the Tip Top Lounge, they did Tower of Terror. So while I waited in line, and they were on and off before I even made a dent in the line. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the night, I think around 12:15, they did Tower of Terror, and then we all did Rock and Roller Coaster, and then Ryder and I did Rock and Roller Coaster one more time. And the last time we had our own car. And when we were going through the room, this was the cool part. We were going through the room. I realized we were the only person in the sound booth. So I had Ryder go, "How about some backstage passes?" So
cool.
he thought
That's cool.
I got it on film, and he thought that was like the coolest thing. So it was a lot of fun. That part, it when we talk about some other things, that part salvaged our night. So, but I mean, there was a car in front of us that didn't have anybody. So those were the only rides, but that wasn't our plan. Our plan was that once the party started, we weren't going to be riding rides. And that seems to be what everybody's plan was. So Gina, what did you do?
Yeah. So we just did the virtual queue for Rise, and then we ended up not doing it. Okay. So that we ended up doing nothing in terms of the rides, because we thought, well, let's do the character experiences. Let's do the things we can't do. So we didn't do any rides, but it would have been so much better had we done rides, because I did a lot of standing in line. But the thing that I did enjoy.
What boarding group were you?
We were like boarding group 7 or 8. We were right there too. There was I don't think hardly anybody did the virtual queue.
Yeah, I don't think many people were there to do rides. Yeah. And I don't know if it was because it's the first party and there were a lot of influencers and stuff there, or just people wanting to experience the new stuff. So
but I did want to mention one thing though. I did go to the park earlier in the day, because I come from California. And so in California world, if you get there earlier, you can get your wristband earlier. Yeah. So big mistake on my part. Yeah. Anyway, so let's just say that. So that was the big mistake on my part, was I came with the California mindset of, I can get my wristband at 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Shannon mentioned coming in. I did want to mention this for anyone that is going in the future. The Skyliner, it was not down because of the rain. I watched your video, Shannon.
Yeah, I corrected that in my recap video.
So, but they actually, because we had an experience earlier in the week with the trams at the Animal Kingdom Extra Magic Hours, that they shut down the trams before the end of the evening. I did not want to get stuck walking through the entire parking lot or having to wait for a bus. So I asked, and they said that the Skyliner was stopping at 9:30, the normal stopping time.
That's ridiculous.
And after that, it was going to be buses back to the Skyliner resorts. For that reason, we took our car over, and actually I paid for preferred parking. And when it was pouring rain at the end, no, I don't feel bad at all.
No, it was worth it.
It was totally worth it. I mean,
you went earlier too, right?
Yeah, we were there in the afternoon, so we actually parked at like 2:00 or something like that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so if you are staying at a Skyliner resort or Boardwalk or Beach Club, a boat resort, you are not going to be going back via boat or Skyliner. You will. I
understand the boat.
A bus.
I understand the boat.
Skyliner.
I don't understand the Skyliner.
I don't
I'm
either.
sorry. I know we're talking about pros, but to me that's unacceptable.
Sorry. But that was, it was just part of the whole situation. Like, why I didn't do rides was because I thought, we have plenty. I knew we didn't have enough time. I didn't realize how much time we didn't have.
Yeah.
So the other thing we talked about prior to the show was that was a pro were the 2 shows.
Yes.
What's This, which was a Nightmare Before Christmas sing-along, and then What Holidays in Hollywood. And Gina,
Disney Holidays in Hollywood,
yeah. Gina, why don't you start with your experiences with these?
I will. So the best thing, I was with Jake. Jake hates the Muppets. And I said, can you just suck it up? Can you please just suck it up to do this one thing? So it was great because he went in, I hate the Muppets. I don't want to do this. We went. I loved this show. I actually liked the production value. I liked the whole setup about it being from the 1930s and 40s. I really liked that. It connected old Hollywood with, and let's go see what's going on at Tiana's house. So I enjoyed that very much. I love the costuming and I thought the choreography was really well done. And I said, had that been the entire experience with that kind of showmanship, this would have been a way better experience for us. But that show knocked my socks off. And Jake even liked the Muppets. Go ahead.
Pete, what did you think of the show, Pete?
That show, actually, for me personally, I liked that show better of the 2 as well. And I think for a lot of the same reasons Gina said, it felt like they were trying to do old Hollywood. They kind of, they had like commercial breaks and everything like that. Like it was a radio show. I actually thought the Muppets were the weakest part of it. I actually loved they did a Mickey and Minnie skit,
that one was great,
or whatever you want to call it, which was not expected, and I thought that was fantastic. I love the Tiana part. The Belle song was okay. It was fine.
Her dress was cute.
But overall, I thought that show was top notch. One thing Gina didn't mention, live 10-piece band or 8-piece band. I forget which it was.
8-piece. Yeah.
And fantastic. I thought that show was fantastic. What about you, Shannon?
So I am in the minority here. Now, I didn't not like it. Ray was in hell. Ray was in hell, but Ray also doesn't like shows. So he doesn't like shows. He doesn't go to, he likes the Disney ones on Disney Cruise Line, but when we're on, like Royal Caribbean, we don't go to the shows, or I'll go by myself. So he's not a show person. I am. I used to dance when I was younger. I thought the production was great. Like the performers were fantastic. I thought the production value was great. I just thought it could have been a little shorter. And I thought it was a little too long, and I thought it dragged a little bit at parts. It's definitely geared towards adults. Yeah. So I would say it's definitely geared towards adults. So Ryder did enjoy it, and Ryder loved the Mickey and Minnie part. But it was, but Ryder's an old soul. Like he's not a typical 7-8-year-old. He is an old soul. Yeah. I mean, he loves shows. He's my kid. He's not, sometimes I wonder if he's Ray's. So I thought it was good. I wasn't wowed like everybody else was. But that is but that I also will say is that's a personal preference. That's nothing against the show. Yeah. So I still think that's a pro. I still think the show is a pro.
I'm a huge Muppets fan, and the Muppets part of it was the weakest part to me.
I thought they were great. I loved them. I thought they were funny.
They were okay. I thought their jokes weren't that great.
Okay. So let me tell you from Jake's point of view, I love the Muppets, and it was fine for me. I liked it. But Jake, who hates the Muppets, came out of there saying, I think I don't hate Kermit and I don't hate Piggy anymore. So that was huge because he hates the Muppets. He's like, I'll give them another chance. I'm like, yay. For me, they were fine. It was fine. It wasn't like over the top or typical. It was fine. Not bad. Not good.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
So I think
my daughter who's 20 didn't really like it that much.
Yeah. That's what I say. I think it's geared towards, I think it does connect old Hollywood. I was trying to explain, like Ryder was like, why are they taking a break? And so I was trying to explain, like he didn't understand that. I understood it.
What are commercials?
But he didn't understand. What are commercials?
Yeah, commercial.
It's like we pay for YouTube Premium. I don't watch YouTube, So I was trying to explain what it was. So he kind of like understood it and stuff. So because the party's so short, I think that it could be condensed a little bit because the Belle part she was amazing. Her voice was amazing, but the song kind of dragged. Like, I guess the song is from the Belle Christmas special or whatever.
Yeah.
Wasn't a great song.
But again, it's kind of I would have liked to have a little bit more upbeat,
I will
personally.
agree with you. I think it could have been shorter.
Yeah.
Because it did. I don't know how long it was, but it felt like it was maybe
It was a
40
half an
minutes.
hour. It was
Oh, was it?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it felt like 40,
Yeah.
45.
I think it was looking at, and I can look at my timestamp.
Yeah.
It started right. I know we started because we went to the third one. I think. Yeah, we went to 10:45,
Mhm.
and I think we were walking outside at 11:18 was when we were walking. So and I'm looking, 11:15 was when I have a video of Ryder leaving the seat. So it was just a half an hour, exactly a half an hour.
Okay.
But it takes like 5 minutes to get out of the theater.
Yeah. And you had to be there at least 15 minutes before the show.
Mhm.
Well, this is what I heard. So this is what I heard from other people. They would open the doors 15 minutes prior. And even the first show, they opened it 15 minutes prior. The first show, they started right on time and they were still loading the theater. So there were people that were getting seated 10 minutes after the show, even though they were in line on time. Like, especially the first show, why did they not open it earlier? It's a huge theater. The line was down. Yeah. The line was down to Sunset Boulevard. All the way down.
Well, even
your show.
It must have been your show because we went to the second. I think we went.
You went to the one before
show.
me.
Yeah.
And like as we were leaving and the end of the line, they were telling the people at the end of the line, you're probably not getting in.
Yeah, that's what they told me.
Yeah.
They told me that, and I had to text Pete and say, I can't get in. They won't let us in. They said they're going to cut the line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We walked by at 10 o'clock, and there was a big sign saying it's full. So, because we had just left the Who's This, and there was a big sign. So we went to the third one. For me, I would say that's a good one to go to the last one. But again, that was one that I could have missed. But it wasn't my favorite. But I think that's again, personal preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with the show. I think it's just personal preference. But it's definitely, if you have little kids and you think they're going to really like it, I would see if they show them show them footage of it to see if they really, because I don't think young kids would like it, especially like under 5. I think it's too.
Agree.
I agree. It would be.
I think I even think under 8 because like you said, you have the older boy, the older 8-year-olds. My students would not. They'd be like, "This is snooze fest."
Yeah, no. And Ryder, if I had told Ryder, like if I said, if I told him, let's say we went on this Saturday, do you want to see that show again? Or do you want to ride, Tower of Terror for the 15th time? He would pick Tower of Terror for the 15th time. Like it's not that he really wanted to see it. It was mommy wanted to see it. So, but I definitely think it was a pro. It's good. So,
so
now,
what about the other show?
Nightmare. Nightmare Before Christmas, we missed because of our line situation. So I didn't get to see that. So
too bad.
I have to. Yep. So back to you, Pete.
Well, what about you, Shannon? Because it sounds like that was your favorite.
That was my favorite. So we went, we did some magic shots. We went to Animation Courtyard, and as we met another YouTuber, his channel is The Root of All Theme Parks, and we were like kind of walking out together and chatting. And I said, "Have you seen any of the shows yet?" Because it was, I think, at that point 9:15. And he goes, "Yeah, I just saw Who's This." And I said, "How was it?" He goes, "It's amazing. It's amazing." He goes, "They have the puppet from the Halloween party. It's in the theater." And at that point, I was like, "Yeah, we're going right now." I mean, it was 9:10. That's when Ray left to get a pretzel. Thank God, because otherwise him and Ryder would have been starving. He actually got 2 pretzels, and we just waited. So Ryder and I went straight in line. So we were waiting in that like queue area for maybe 4 or 5 minutes with everybody, and then they opened it right at 9:15. So they opened both the Theater of the Stars and the Hyperion Theater right 15 minutes before. And they loaded, and they were trying to get everybody, like they always do, down the aisle, and they were doing the rows, like you had to go all the way to the end. And that's where I saw this group of people dead center, like they were already sitting down when the doors opened. So I'm like, "Oh, well, these are VIPs. We're going to sit next to them." So we walked right in, and that way we didn't have to go all the way down because we weren't going to walk past them. So we just sat right next to them. And that's also how I learned about the content creator party and media event. So we'll talk about that later. But so we sat there. Ray was able to get in right after us and was able to find us. We were able to hold a seat for him. And they were loading and it filled up, but there were people walking in just before it started. It didn't fill up. I heard the last show of that one was filled to capacity and filled up really fast.
Mm-hmm.
But we went to the second one and they were filling people in up probably up until like the 3 minutes before. So there were people walking up right before.
So we were at the last one.
Okay.
And it did fill up, but if you were there 15 minutes before. It was easy to. It was not full at all. 15 minutes before, it was easy to walk in. So we had no problem. We were in like the 5th row or something like that, and I just kind of waited.
Mm-hmm.
That was my strategy for shows. I wait till people go in, and then so we were kind of right center with the puppet, so we were so close we could easily see the puppeteers and everything, which I think was cool.
Okay. Yeah. And so again, and I will say people were walking in on ours probably 3 minutes before. So it was interesting to see that the last show was actually the more popular one in that one. And I heard that the first show was kind of the same way as ours. It was the last one that was the most popular. I think most of the vloggers went
around.
Well, I also think most people started with Disney holidays.
Right.
Most people started there. So anyway, I thought it was fantastic. Seeing that puppet, the puppet comes out in the beginning and the end, and
cool.
And he does an intro and outro, and then it's silent performers. So it's not like the Frozen sing along. And is it a sing along? Kind of, not really. There were some people singing. I wasn't, but to me, it was a show. To me, it was a show. And I have no way to verify this, but I heard the performers are from the Cirque du Soleil show.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if that's accurate, but
hey,
it makes sense. It kind of makes sense that they kind of look like they would be with the drawn to life that they.
Yeah, they were definitely doing pantomime. They weren't doing any kind of stunts or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they look like they were flexible.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then Oogie Boogie. I mean, and I'm not a big fan of the movie. Ryder had a Nightmare Before Christmas stage around 4. He was obsessed. So he still likes them, but he's not obsessed like he was. But he really enjoyed it. Like we kept glancing over it, and he was just enthralled with it. Like he just.
Great.
He just couldn't. When we walked out, I was like, "What did you think of it?" And he was just like, 2 thumbs up.
The Oogie Boogie was amazing because they got an Oogie Boogie that had the mouth that moved.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, holy cow. I don't know how they did that. And the reason I didn't like it more than my daughter, who is again 20, she liked this show better.
Right.
My only complaint is, and I sort of realize why they did it. They didn't do the opening number, which is "This Is Halloween," which is like my favorite song.
Oh,
and I was like, why? That's such a sing-along song.
That one
they showed it. They showed it on the screens when you were outside.
Right.
And I'm guessing they did that because they knew that people would want. But to me, that song is like boys and girls of every age. Right. And they didn't do that song. And some of the songs they did
were weird.
Good sing-along songs.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking they didn't do it because the song's called "This Is Halloween" and it's a Christmas show. But sorry, you made a mistake there, Disney. You should have used the best. I mean, What's This? Great sing-along song. Oogie Boogie, great sing-along song. Even Kidnap the Sandy Claus, they did that one. But then they did like the Sally song, which is not a sing-along song at all.
No, it's not. That's like the love song. It's sweet, but not sing-along.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a very good show. I think it was probably only like 20 minutes.
It was 21 minutes from my phone.
Yeah. So, but because I wanted that one song, it was not.
That's good.
That was my disappointment in it. That did not make it a bad show.
No,
it was definitely a pro. I would recommend both these shows 100% if you're going to this party. I would say those are worth seeing.
Then we have one comment. I just want to show you with the one comment.
Yep.
My friend is so excited about this show.
Oh,
So.
if you love Nightmare Before Christmas,
yes,
well worth it. It's worth it just for the Jack Puppet and the Oogie Boogie coming out.
One of the things in my recap video, and I talked about like who is good for this party, and I said one of the things is it's like an after hours for rides, and the other thing is I go, if you are a big Nightmare Before Christmas fan, then I do think it's probably worth it. For me, no. I thought I loved the show and I thought it was great, but I'm not a huge fan of that movie. But if you are a huge fan of it, then yes, I think that that's worth the price of admission because of that show. So
yeah.
But and then I guess we're gonna move on to the next pro, and that is magic shots. Did you guys do any magic shots?
We did not. No.
And Gina?
I did a lot of photos. We did a lot of photos, which was great. And we went to the animation, and not animation. We went to Pixar, Incredibles. I got to see every mode. We got to see Frozen. There was nobody there. I don't know why.
Because we never made it back there.
It was great. Yeah. No one was there. I walked right through 5 seconds. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then we did Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, and they are very playful. And they were great. And then finally we were going to do the Phineas and Ferb, but that's a different story. But we did do those.
How was the line for Rescue Rangers? Because it was pretty long when we saw it.
So they were really great. They said, they're very interactive. So you're going to be waiting 25 minutes. And we waited 25 minutes. And they did the swap out really quick. So that was really nice. And they even warned us, they're very interactive. So you're going to get a full 5 minutes.
Okay.
And we did.
Okay, that's fair though, but that's good that they warned you about that.
And they warned us. They said, just so you know, it's going to be about 25 minutes.
So. And what time did you go to see Edna Mode and Frozone?
That was in the middle of the night.
And
so
there was
nobody
line.
There. Yeah, there was no one there. It was great.
Anything behind the Great Movie Ride seemed empty because Star Wars Land was completely dead.
Oh yeah, we went back there.
There were several PhotoPass photographers back there. We didn't do it, but they were. There was.
Were they doing anything special, or were they just regular photos?
Just
regular. I think they were just regular photos, but they were. You could get in front of the Millennium Falcon, and then there was a couple others, and then same thing. Toy Story Land was
empty,
pretty much empty when we were back there.
We walked back there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was around 10ish. Yeah. Let's see. What time was that? What time was that last show? 10:45. So yeah, it was about 10. It was about 10 that we were back there. Yeah.
Okay.
And Shannon, you did like some magic shots.
We did the magic shots. So I had done I had recorded a preview show on my personal channel, and they had talked about these 2 special magic shots. One was going to be a boomerang with 9 cameras or 9 angles, and the other one was a robotic arm. And if you ever watch the red carpets, specifically like on E, it's kind of one of those. And we went back there. So we got off Movie Ride, and we had wanted to go to the first Who's This, but because we got stuck on Runaway Railway, we just were like, okay, well, we'll just go straight to the character. So we went back to the animation courtyard, and the lines were crazy. I mean, the lines were like crazy. And I said, and then we saw that they were having, Mickey and Minnie. And when I got over there, I said, am I getting in line for Mickey or am I getting in line for Minnie? And she's like, well, we can't tell you. I was like, okay. And I mean, when you're on a cruise, like they gauge, okay, like, okay, you're now getting in line for Minnie Mouse. That's Mickey, but you're now getting in line for Minnie Mouse. He's going to be leaving. They were like, well, we can't tell you. We won't know. Oh, okay. Like, so you didn't know. So if you got in line and you took a picture with Mickey and then you wanted to go take a picture with Minnie, you could stand in line and then just get Mickey again. You just really didn't know. And I was reading on WDW Magic, their forums, and somebody was like, well, why did they do that? And Len Testa made a good point. He says they probably only made one set of outfits. They probably didn't make 2 sets of outfits for the characters, and that's why they switched them out. I was like, well, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. I mean, the Miami Vice,
$1 million a night. How can you can't afford 2 outfits?
I mean, I'm not thrilled with the Miami Vice Christmas outfits, but whatever. So, well, the lines were super long. And then he was like, I don't want to see Minnie. I want to see Mickey. And the line was really long anyway. And I was like, if I'm not going to wait 45 minutes and then it not be Mickey. So we're like, well, we'll come back. Obviously we didn't, but I kind of saw that the light was on in Play and Dance. So we had the map that we'll talk about the map. The map was really hard to read because it's so dark.
Yes.
It's so dark. I mean, whoever designed the map should have gone like, let me go stand in a dark, closet and see if I can read this map.
Oh, you're going to need to read this map at night? Nope. Sorry.
Yeah. And the way they marked the photo spots was a camera, but it didn't show you if that was a magic shot, if that was, it just showed you it didn't say if it was a character. It just had a big black camera on a very dark map.
And I had no idea that these magic shots existed.
No, me either.
Yeah. So I knew they were there, but I didn't know where they were going to be. Yeah. So we wandered in there and then we saw that it was this robotic arm. So, and the line was not long. I think we waited maybe 15 minutes. This was like around 8:40, 8:45. Mm-hmm. So we waited and they had two. It's called Snow Glow and Celebrate. Cool. And they were they weren't even up and running. When we got in line, they weren't up and running. When we left Runaway Railway, there was a magic shot in front of the Chinese theater and it was 8:40. And I said, do you guys have a magic shot? She's like, yeah, it'll be up and running in a half an hour to 40 minutes. The party was at 8:30. It's 8:40. So she's telling me it's not going to be up and running until at least 9:15.
Right.
Unacceptable. Mm-hmm. Unacceptable. Though that should have been up and running at 8. Yep.
That communication. The communication was a big issue.
And then she said, hopefully all the magic shots will be up and running in the next 30 to 40 minutes. So I don't know if other magic shots were not up and running, but it led me to believe that they weren't all up and running because she said that. I was like, well, because she added that at the end. Like basically don't go look for other magic shots. They might not be up and running. So when we wandered in there, it was probably like 8:45 and they were setting it up. Like they were still setting it up. So we got in line. So we were one of the first people in line and it took another 5 minutes for them to get it set up. And then probably 10 minutes to get through the line. So it moved really fast, but because we were one of the first people there, but it still was not up and running till probably 8:50, which again, unacceptable. Like that should have, and that was, they closed Play and Dance at 5 o'clock.
Well, and for this is also, folks got to remember, this is a 4-hour party.
Very short.
The Christmas party's 5. This was 4. You're getting.
So 45 minutes, that's 20% of the party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but, so it was fine. Like we got there and we're like, okay, Ryder, which one do you want to do? And he's like, I want to do Celebrate. So the Celebrate one was fast. It goes upside down. The Snow Glow, it's more for couples. But then when we were getting towards the front, they were like, okay, you're going to do Snow Glow. And they were telling basically everybody you're doing Snow Glow. No. And some of the people were not happy, but they didn't question it. And I'm like, oh no, no. Like I didn't stand in line. It has a choice up there. So I said, we want to do Celebrate. And she kind of looked at me and then she looked at the lady and I said, look, I have a 7-year-old. My son wants to do Celebrate. And the lady running it said, okay. So she's like, so the lady, the PhotoPass kind of handler was like, can they do it? So they were definitely gearing the people to do Snow Glow. And the reason why is Snow Glow took 3 seconds. The Celebrate took 15 to 17 seconds. So they were gearing people to do the slower, the faster one.
Faster, get out.
Yeah, get out faster. Which I get. And I mean, I appreciate that, but they probably should have moved some of the other lines faster, but but they did let us do it and they didn't fight us on it. Cause I was just like, no, there's a choice. Like we're doing it. So they didn't fight us on it, but they were pushing people. So I would say if you go and they tell you you're doing Snow Glow, and you want to do the other one, no, tell them if you paid $159, you get to do the one you want to do. So especially if you waited. So, but it was great. We just did a little dance. We kind of, they have a couple samples up there so you can watch some different examples. And what we did is we all just kind of danced and kind of pointed at Ryder. And then Ray and I decided like, okay, at one point we're going to kiss. And of course I'm going, you can't really see it, but I'm going, kiss. And he finally heard me. And it ended up being like the perfect time because it was like right before it turned upside down. So it almost looked like it looked like we timed it perfectly.
Yeah. I watched your video over on YouTube on Shannon Ford and I did watch your video from the party. And
right.
those magic shots were pretty cool.
They were really cool. Yeah. And I thought that was, to me, that was a real highlight. That was a real unique feature for the party, something that was really fun. Ryder really enjoyed doing it. So I thought that was really cool. And then we left and then we walked out and we were like, okay, we kind of saw again, another corner behind where Daisy and Donald were. We looked over and we saw this other kind of light coming from this corner. And then we looked and we saw a guy standing there with like another picture example. And he's like, it was another magic shot. So that was the boomerang. So the boomerang was kind of in this old corner by the where you do the characters. So it was like, it used to be a shop. I think it used to be like a merchandise shop on the side where Little Mermaid is, but in the back. And we went in there and that one was really fast. So that one is maybe 2 seconds. But it takes pictures from all different angles. It takes and then they have a present and it says Jollywood Nights. So they had a couple examples where you could choose like ideas of what to do. A lot of people were like opening the gift and they had a big light in the gift. So when you open the gift, a light, shone. But Ryder wanted to fight over the gift. So that's what we did. So we let Ryder choose, and which was good because when we went up there, the light, the battery ran out. So I was like, well, we don't need the light. Just close it. We don't need the light. So they were fixing the battery while we were doing ours because the battery actually ran out of battery, which I thought was funny. I was like, well, we don't need the light. We're doing the fighting. So, and that one was really fast because it didn't take a lot of time to do. It was really fast. And the PhotoPass photographers were great. Like the people running both of them were not PhotoPass photographers. The PhotoPass photographers were the kind of getting, you could tell that they had outsourced this and they were trained in it, but they were really enjoying it. Like their attitude was so much fun and they just thought it was so much fun to do. It was like, and I was telling them like, is this fun for you guys to do? They're like, this is awesome. Like we did training.
Yeah. And it probably wasn't that busy because they didn't tell
one knew it was there. No one knew. I think that will change. I think that will change because people do know about it. I think that was one of the things we were lucky about.
Yeah.
And it's just back to that old Hollywood thing. They should just have kept that whole old Hollywood theme. I love that. I love the old. Yeah.
And then as we were leaving that area, we were going to leave. And that's when we started heading to Who's This? This cast member saw Ryder and we heard the DJ saying, if you think you're the most dapper, come over here. And she grabbed him and she's like, hey, do you want to do a runway? You're like the most dapper. And he just thought it was like awesome. So she walked him over to the DJ and the DJ was awesome over there. But again, it was dark. They gave him no light. And he was like, I don't have a red carpet, but imagine there's a red carpet. Like, why did they not have that? Why did they not have that? I mean, you could have had a nice step and repeat, had it like a red carpet and give the guy something to work. He was good because he was working with nothing and he was creating, but so that was fun. Him and Ray did a little walked the imaginary red carpet.
I got to give Ray a lot of credit for that. I enjoyed him and Ryder
I saw that.
walking on the red carpet. That was funny.
Yeah, he was like, why don't you go? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I've done that before. So, so that was fun. So that was a lot of fun. And like I said, but again, it was one of those things where they cut short. It could have been so much better. And I will say the theme and the pro and another pro we can talk about is the cast members, because I think the cast members were a big pro throughout the night, because I think the cast members were the ones that a lot of times saved the event. Their attitude in the beginning was so excited. You could walk in and you could sense that they were so excited for this event. The end of the night, you could tell that they were just as frustrated as you, but they were still smiling.
Yeah, we had good experiences with the cast member. And it sounds like that one was mostly pro, but we're starting to move into the cons. So let's talk about some of the negatives. And your mention there of the DJ, I want to talk about the various parties. Yeah. Because I didn't see that DJ there. There was a DJ that was in front of, at least later in the night, that was in front of Mickey's Mickey's Runaway Railway. Oh, okay. There was nothing there, but there was a DJ. that the Tip Top Lounge, and Gina can tell you about her lousy experience there. But I went to it later in the night. The Tip Top Lounge was basically nothing. It was a band that was playing, and they weren't even playing all night. The Latin Street Fair was a guy with a guitar
on one side. The guy on the guitar on one side, and then
further down there was a setup for a band, but they weren't even playing when we went through.
There were two girls when I went over there.
Yeah. So it's just like, that's not a Latin Street Fair, a guy with a guitar. And then the food for the Latin Street Fair was inside ABC Commissary, which is not a Latin Street Fair. And from what I understand, stood the
Brown
Derby one was filled up so fast, and that you basically couldn't get it. Like, at one point very early in the party, they closed off the wait for it.
They closed it off. So when we were walking from Mickey and when we were walking from Rock and Roller Coaster to Runaway Railway, we were right in front of the Derby, and Ryder goes, "I need to go potty." So, which was perfect, because I was like, I know there's like a nice bathroom right there. So we were trying to get in, and like, everybody kept stopping us, and I said, no, my son needs to go to the bathroom. So the cast members were great, and they let us in, and we were able to go in. But I mean, you could barely walk, because I was just like, well, I knew there was a bathroom there, but I couldn't get through the people, because you had to like scan this QR code. And then you had to be like, you had to be able to try and get in. You had to be really close. Like, if you went into Animation Courtyard, it said you weren't close enough to sign in.
Yeah.
So you had to be literally in front, which meant everybody was there. And then what happened is, people that did get in, it sent out a mass text to everybody. Basically, everybody that was able to get in, it sent a mass text to everybody that their table would be ready in 10 minutes. But everybody that got in. So there was somebody that I know that waited 2 hours for their table that was going to be ready in 10 minutes. And you had to be next to it. So you had to stay there and wait. And so they wasted 2 hours.
Pardon my French, but F that.
Yeah. 100%.
I would have been there 15 minutes and left.
I would have walked out and said,
I mean, we never planned on going, because I didn't. To me, I knew it was going to waste too much time. And then what I heard is, when you walked in, there was no extra decorations. It was decorated just like it is normally. And then the piano player, or the pianist, was playing Disney music. So he wasn't even playing Christmas music. And he was playing, like somebody said, like, he's playing You're Welcome. He played like one Christmas song, and then everything else was Disney music. So, but this was the ongoing theme with the music, is that they didn't have two for each. So there were set breaks. So there was one pianist. So there was a lot of times where there was nothing. There was one band at the Tip Top Lounge. So then a lot of times there was nothing. Yep. So half the time of the night, half the time when I was in line at the Tip Top Lounge.
We need to let Gina tell her story about the Tip Top Lounge.
Okay. So go for it.
All I wanted to do was the Tip Top Lounge. I was so excited when I read the promo. It's like, get to be at the courtyard, and we're going to have a band and a bar, and it's going to be this whole extra special thing at Hollywood Tower Hotel. So we get down there, and the cast member immediately, because they don't know what's going on, they're like, you need to be on the right. Because I was trying to see the band. You need to be on the right. The way to into the lounge is through the right. I stood there for 30 minutes, found out after 30 minutes of standing there with nothing going on, it was only if you wanted to go to the bar and get a drink. 30 minutes. Yeah. I said, we don't want to get a drink. We want to see the band. I thought this was getting closer to the band. They didn't set the band up. That was 8:30. They didn't set the band up till like 8:45. So we left.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of things were not ready at 8:30. I think that, comes down to, it wasn't enough time. Like, you weren't able to get in until 7, which you're able to get in 3 hours early for the Christmas party,
right?
But an hour and a half early for the Jollywood Nights. And then they only close at 8. So instead of having that hour cushion for them to set up, it only had a half an hour cushion, which was not enough.
They needed, because
they needed an hour.
With Magic Kingdom, they seem to know we got to close the park earlier for this party,
and let the people early.
Here they basically were like, we're going to keep the park open till
the last minute.
Like Fantasmic was 7:45.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So people were still, guests were still in the park at 8:30, when the party was starting. And it was definitely, I think, not enough prep time for them to convert the park over.
And
sure.
the other thing I want to say to people, if they're going, do not go inside to get your lanyard and your wristband.
Yes.
Because that line was so much longer. Luckily, Jake's like, just go to the front. I'm up front right now. Just go. Yeah. So I went up, I left, came back in. So.
A lot of people, and they were the cast members. Somebody I know waited 45 minutes in the back, and it was by Vacation Fun. And the cast members were saying, you'll be better off if you leave the park and come back through the front of the park, which is, again, unacceptable.
That's what all those people, because we were over by Olaf and there were all these people in line.
Yeah,
we're like,
that's what they were doing.
Be people in line for, those were people getting wristbands?
Yes, because we were there early.
God, that's terrible. Because that
was there at 2.
Because that was about 8 o'clock. Because we rode, as I said, we rode Star Tours before the party actually started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And another bizarre thing about that, all the lights were off on Star Tours outside, and there was one person standing there. And like you walked up and it looked like it was closed, and we walked up, is this open? And they're like, well, do you have a wristband? And I was like, yeah, no, okay, you can come in. But it was weird the way the rides were all like dark. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
and the same thing, Mickey and Minnie's.
Yeah. So that was poorly executed. Also, and then
all
the lanyard,
those.
What did the lanyard do? Did anybody know what that lanyard was for?
It did nothing. It was a $150 souvenir, I guess.
Okay.
So nobody had good experiences with any of the DJ's dance. Well, it sounds like Shannon maybe had a little bit of a
I was in line for a very watered down pre-mixed drink. And then they came on. So she was good. Like that Tip Top Lounge, she was very good. Now I got in line, it was like 10 o'clock. So the line was already, I heard that when everybody was there and they were trying to, they didn't have a determined place of where there was going to be a line. So when the party started, there was no predetermined place. So cast members on the fly were trying to figure out where they were going to do a line for the bar. Like on the fly. Like that's what they were doing. So by the time I got there, it was a little more organized.
Good. Yeah, that was sad.
Well, even we went by there right after the second holidays in Hollywood, so it must have been about 9:30 or so. And same thing, like you walked down there and the band was playing, but you couldn't tell what anything was. It's like, is this
picture?
it?
That's it. That's all you got.
So you got that sign, you got the band. There was a bar somewhere. We couldn't even figure out.
It was all the way in the back.
It was all the way in the back on the right. That's why they shoved us over there.
Yeah, and so there was more stuff in the back, but like it didn't seem like there was any more entertainment back there or anything. So it's just kind of like we went in there, we're like, well, this is kind of lame, and we left. So
yeah. So did you hear the bands at all, Pete? We didn't hear anything. We left.
No, we heard the band. They were fine. They were good, but they just came on when we got there. So same thing Shannon said. They weren't on all the time. So they would I'm sure they would take a break, and then there was nothing.
Yeah.
So poor planning on all of those things, I think.
Yeah, like so Con was, they had all these musical acts, and they were good. I mean, I will say that's the one thing I will say they were good. They just didn't have enough. Like there shouldn't have been dead time. So maybe if you don't have a full band, maybe you have someone playing a saxophone. Maybe you have something. But
there wasn't enough room for at any of the places. That place was too small. The Brown Derby thing was a mess.
That was a mess. I couldn't even go over there.
The ABC commissary, it's just a aisle there. So I mean, by the time we went there, it was late at night. There wasn't even anybody there. So I think that they needed to have less of those things and in areas that were more open.
Yep.
So that more people could participate. And I don't know.
And I think that's kind of leads me to the next con, is that there was no flow to the event. And that's probably because of the design of how Hollywood Studios is. But I also think it was a lot of things were designed very poorly. Because they put that Gertie cookie next to the 3 most rare characters. So and then they also had a line for PhotoPass photos with just the Christmas tree. So you had 4 lines for PhotoPass, and then you had a really long line for Gertie cookies. And I didn't know which line I was getting in, and this was late. This was like at 11. And then when we left Who's This, we were like, we could barely walk through there because there were so many people just in line. And we didn't know what line was for what or whatever, but there was no flow. And that's the reason why nobody went back to Toy Story Land, because there was you just never made it back there. And there was it was hard to get back there.
There was nothing other than the rides. There was nothing really
going on.
Unless you were going to do the rides, there was no reason to go back there. So it kind of crammed everybody in the front third of the park.
Right.
For sure.
And then
like they should have put at least 1 or 2 of the rare characters in Toy Story Land.
Yes.
And I understand 100%. They're not Pixar, whatever. Who cares? Who cares? Because it would have led people back there.
Spread people out. Find a way to spread people out.
Yeah, you gotta put Phineas and Ferb back there and have a toy.
Yeah. Let's have a Life Day dance party and draw some people into Star Wars.
Exactly.
That area is massive, and there's nobody there.
And I would have been there the whole night had they had a dance party, Life Day dance party, Wookiees going off.
I mean, if they had 2 stormtroopers with Santa hats, everybody would have been there. Everybody would have been there taking that picture. Like everybody would have been there taking that picture. I would have gone out there for taking that picture.
And so this can kind of phase into talking about the lines for the lines for the characters, lines for the food. I don't know if we want to separate those.
Let's go food first.
Okay. So
and the drinks. So I waited in the drink line. And then we'll talk about the drinks. The drinks were not as advertised. And I was supposed to get like some orange garnish. They ran out of them, and I got my drink at halfway through the party. Like I think I got my drink at 10:25. So the party wasn't even, the halfway point was 10:30. One of my drinks was 2/3 full, and I had to tell them like, that one's not full. And then they just filled it up with juice. And I'm pretty sure I never got alcohol in that drink. Because it was basically, they would give you the juice and then they would put the alcohol in it. Mm-hmm. I think they forgot to put the alcohol. So instead of putting the alcohol, she just filled it up with juice. And I'm like, why is mine bright blue and everybody's is light blue?
Then why am I paying $17 for bright blue juice?
It was juice, like it was pineapple juice. So it probably had a little bit of alcohol with the premix. It was probably like the secondary alcohol was that, but there was no rum. Like it was they didn't. So I pretty much paid $9.50 for juice. But the drinks they weren't bartenders. They were just premixed. Gross. So there's that. Yeah. And I never got in line for food because it was too long.
Yeah, we were very lucky because we decided to eat before the party started. That was actually the first thing we did when we came in.
Yeah, that was good.
And so we ate at the farmers market there. I forget what they call it. Yeah. But we just got, and the food there is crap too, but we got chicken nuggets.
Food, but it's food.
And a pizza. But we didn't wait for that. I used mobile order. It was great. The only thing from the party we ate was towards the end of the night. Again, when we went to the Latin Street Fair at about 11 o'clock, there was nobody there at the ABC commissary. So we were able to walk right up and tried some of those foods. They were very tasty. However, every other line we saw for food was 100 people deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The entire night. And I heard earlier at the ABC commissary, it was also
I'll talk about
several
that.
hundred people deep. So yeah. So
our
food experience was not bad because we didn't do it.
So and mine too. I just chose not to eat.
Yeah.
We could not find. So I traveled with someone who has dairy, gluten, soy intolerance, cannot have anything. We went. First of all, there's nothing available. Nothing was open. We tried to get in to here, there. Nothing was open. So we go to ABC commissary. The line was not too bad. It was outside. It was probably about 50 people deep. That was okay. Ordering was simple. Once we got into the line to order, I don't think those cast members worked that job because it was 20 minutes to get to the front of the line after I had ordered. So I think they were not trained. And then because I have someone with dietary issues, that chef had to come out, their food came before my food came. I ordered just the quesadilla, whatever. Her food came first because it was special order.
Well, I'll tell you why. That happened to us in Magic Kingdom. what happens is they don't start preparing your food until that person's food is delivered.
Right.
Yeah, because that happened to us at Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
So what I always tell people is if you're going to be ordering an allergy meal, make 2 separate orders.
Yeah. So
because they prepare yours after the allergy meal is delivered. That's when they start. That's when they start. That's when they put your order in. Yeah.
Okay.
So tidbit there. I learned that one the hard way.
Yay. Yeah, I learned that. But still it was still 20 minutes even for the other people that weren't on the allergy meal. So
you know what? It did have that feel there because even though there was no line there, when we got up to the front to get our food, it still took like 5 minutes to get our food.
Yeah, it took us 20.
Even though there was
like
nobody there.
Yeah, there were 4 people in front of us.
And the guy was just like standing there like, whoa.
Yeah, I think they weren't trained for this kind of event.
Maybe not.
That was
I know someone in the Duck College program, and she was assigned to a completely different area that night. Yeah.
So they weren't trained. And I felt bad for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt bad for them because I know this wasn't their fault, but it was like, oh, you don't know where anything is. You could tell they don't know where anything is. They don't know what to do. They're like, who do we call? Like, who do we pick?
Yep.
So but we all got food. We all ate. It just took way longer. Everything took way longer. So I needed way more time to do stuff.
Yeah.
My advice is don't go hungry, and the food isn't. Honestly, I haven't heard anybody say the food, this item is not to be missed. I haven't heard anything is not to be missed. So I would say just go eat right before, or eat, at one of the restaurants before the party if you get in early.
Yep.
And then don't worry about eating the night of the party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't waste your time waiting in line for food.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't expect that to get better.
No. The other thing though is because this is the elephant in the room that I need to talk about. We had all those vloggers there, and I really did have a stern word with Disney and say, look, just do a separate event, work out the kinks with them. You're going to let them do everything first anyway. Just work it all out with them. And then when you have the regular people come, we would have a little bit better experience instead of them being able to cut in front of us for every little thing. So even though we were first or we were there, there's still 20 minutes because you got to let these people go in front of you. So I know you had an experience, but we didn't want to share each other's experience. So because we wanted to share it, live on the show. But I learned, I knew there was going to be a media event. I had attended the first Halloween party back in 2018. And I swore at that point I would never attend the first night of a party again, because at that point there wasn't like issues with cutting of lines. It was just, there was a lot more people. And what I personally believe is that there's the capacity, and then they have all the comped, and they don't count that toward capacity. Because I've been to a sold out holiday. I don't know that for sure. That's my speculation. I agree though.
Yeah, because I've been to a sold out Halloween party the first night and later on, and the first night always feels a lot more packed. Yeah. So that's so that's my guess.
Understand, we all went to this because it was when we were there. We didn't really want to go to the first one.
No.
Yeah, I did not want to go. I actually contemplated not going, but we had already booked our trip. If you're listening to this, you're probably DVC. This was announced 6 months ago. So I booked mine at 7 months. I booked mine in May, or was it May or even maybe in April?
And I will say for myself, and I don't know how the two of you are, that was in my head was, there's going to be 1,000 influencers here. I recognized several people, and I don't follow that many of them, but I saw a few people that I know. Many. I know Shannon saw even more people that she knows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it was not a surprise to me that they were there. I was surprised what you guys experienced.
So I will say I ran into Tim Tracker. Tim Tracker and I met back in exactly a year ago to the day. We were on the Wish together. I'm pretty sure he doesn't remember me. He probably pretended like he did, but I'm sure he didn't. But he was very nice. He actually let me interview him for my channel. Super nice. Now he did have, I saw Jen, and they did have what I call a Disney handler. I don't know what they're called, but it's somebody I would say, I don't even want to call him a cast member because I don't want to insult cast members. They were probably someone from marketing or PR that were hosting these people, and they each had certain ones had, it's some people were comped but didn't have these handlers. They did. But I will say I saw them several times throughout the night, and they were experiencing the party as guests, and they have yet to post a video. So I'm pretty sure they haven't posted a video because it was going to be negative and they've just chosen not to. That's my guess. But I also never saw them cut lines. I can't say they didn't, but I never saw it. And I saw them several times and they were like talking with other people, so so I will say that. And then I saw a lot of Disney people, and the same thing. The Disney people that I recognized, some I know were comped and had given media passes and stuff, but they didn't have these handlers. When I went into Who's This or What's This, I told you I sat next to him. I started chatting because I talked to everybody. I talked to a wall. And because I was also nosy because I figured they were VIP. And I'm like, oh, how are you guys here? And the husband's like, oh, my wife's on Instagram. We got invited. We just left the party. So, of course, I started following her stories and saw the party that they had been hosted. Really nice party. I think it was in Pizza Rizzo, but I'm not sure. They were given they basically were given access to all the drinks that were going to be offered, all the food that was going to be offered. Basically, everything that was going to be offered were offered to them at that party so they could get really good pictures for Instagram and TikTok.
Right.
And, he said that they were kind of held hostage. I go, did you go see the other show? And he's like, no, we were kind of held hostage till a few minutes and they brought us straight here. So, and this was at 9. So they probably held them until 9:00. They did have Mickey and some of the Mickey and Friends characters, but they didn't have the rare characters. So that's how I learned about this. I did also learn that they all got a $100 gift card.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, very nice. You don't have to pay for the $500 tickets, and you got a $100 gift card too.
Nice.
And then, so I did learn. And honestly, I don't care about the VIP seating. And I don't even care that they got invited and I had to pay. It doesn't bother me.
That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that they were with us and I feel like they took advantage. It could go in front of the line and could get everything first. I'm like, that's not how this works.
So the people that I could tell that were invited to this were not Disney specific content creators. These are Instagrammers, TikTokers, Gen Z that were local to the Orlando area that maybe cover Disney here and there, but are more local influencers. So the appearance to me was they were targeting the Orlando market to sell out the other 7 nights. That the ticket sales aren't probably going, and I'm sure they're not probably going really good right now, but it seemed to me that they were targeting these weren't Disney people. And I found a couple on social media, and these are not people that were Disney. They will cover Disney content, but that's not their focus. It's not like a Kyle Paulo or a JoJo or a Tim Tracker. These are people that are specific to Orlando that do Orlando in lifestyle type blogs. So that's who they were targeting. So these were people that don't care that you waited in line for an hour. No. I think if Tim Tracker has respect for the people that are in line because he knows one, he's going to get called out if he does. But two, he's real and he's going to be like, this person's waited in line. I'm not going to cut in front of them. Or if I do, I'm going to take a quick picture and be done. So
let's talk about your experience with the line cutting.
So we just saw, every time I try to do something, they're going to go and let these people go first. It happened 3 times for the Chippendale. Let these people go first because they are whatever. They didn't tell us, but they're whatever. I'm like, well, what am I? I'm whatever. Can I go?
Was it the cast members or it was somebody else?
It was somebody else and the cast member let them go.
Right. Okay. And then that's what I experienced too.
I didn't recognize the girls at all. I didn't know who they were. And there was these 2 girls like, oh, well, let us do this. And then she had their mom and the dad and everybody got to be in on the photos. And it happened twice. It didn't happen with Edna Mode. It happened with the Chippendale and it happened with Phineas and Ferb. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were in line. So we got in line after we left the Disney holidays. We got in line. It was probably 11:15. And in Florida when it's going to start to rain, right? You feel it in the air.
Yeah.
And we were in line, and about 10 minutes in line, the cast member came around and said, if it starts to rain, they're going to leave. And I told Ryder, I'm like, look, and he's like, no, he goes, Mom, this is the only, he had told me that was the only thing he really wanted to do. Right. That and ride Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror, but we had already done that. So I was like, okay. And I was like, are you sure that it's probably going to rain and we're not going to see them? He's like, no, I want to wait. I was like, okay. So then I start watching. So that's when I started watching because we really weren't moving. So that's really when I started paying attention. And that's when I saw the first, it was 2 girls and they came over person just like, and it seemed that it had happened because it was so fast. And at first I didn't realize what was going on. The first one, I kind of put things together the second time. But the first time it happened so fast, I was like, did I, because the cast members, you could tell it had happened all night.
Yeah,
because they didn't question it. They didn't question it. That this person came over, told them these people are going, and the cast members let them. And I could also tell the cast members were uncomfortable doing it because the cast members kept looking at each other and kind of rolling their eyes. And you could tell they weren't happy about it because they were getting the brunt of people going, why is that person going?
Right. And for me, it was 2 times. And then they brought the whole family, which upset me too. Yeah. I'm like, how come your whole family gets to go? I get you two, whatever.
The first time it was 2 girls and I saw them using their phone and it was like, you could tell and they were switching their phone. So I was like, okay, these are TikToker. And then I kind of realized, and then the second one came and I think it was the second time where I had saw this mom with 2 young kids and they were probably like 4 and 5. Right. And it's 11:30. And I was like, man, I kept seeing this poor mom. And I was like, man, these kids, like, I just felt bad. And handler, like put their hand in front of the kids the kids were about to go and run up to Phineas and Ferb and stop them and let this girl go. And this girl like took her time. Like that's where I knew these people weren't Disney people because they took their time. They didn't. Now, again, I don't blame them because they were hired by Disney. Now, hired being they were comped, right? They were hired by Disney to create content and they want to keep this relationship. And in order to keep the relationship, they need to create good content. I blame solely on Disney. And this comes from the top. This is Disney management. This is Jeff Valle. And honestly, even Josh Tomorrow, because this comes from the top. This should not have happened. And it happened all night. Also, they knew rain was coming. So they were letting this happen, knowing that we're in line waiting. So then it happened the third time. And the third time was when I actually filmed the girl. I wasn't able to get them cutting the line like with the handler, but I was able because the girl took like 5 minutes and it was just her. She was filming on her phone by herself. I don't know who she is. I have no idea. I've even tried to look and see if I can. And I don't even care. It's not her. I don't want anybody to call them out either.
No,
but yeah. And she took like 5 minutes, and then it started to drizzle and it started to get misty, and I just kind of looked at my husband. I'm like, we're not going to make it. And we were getting really close because then people were like, well, as we got closer, people were hurrying up. The people that were in line were hurrying up because they were respectful for everybody else in line.
Yeah.
Not the influencers that didn't pay for the $500 for the ticket. Right. It was the other people. And there was a kid in front of us. He was probably 12 or 13. They bought the tickets just to see Phineas and Ferb.
Oh, my heart.
And and I mean, it was heartbreaking. And Ryder was, I don't, obviously I'm not going to film my son crying. I'm going to console him. But he was hysterical. Hysterical, hyperventilating. And they took probably, I'd say at a minimum 12 minutes. We were second in line. We were second in line when they cut it down. Yeah. And, and then the worst thing is one cast member said they're gone for good. And then one cast member said they may come back. So it was like, well, do I leave? Do I not leave? So I asked the one cast member, I'm like, if they come back, I'm next because the other family left. I go, if they come back, can I come back and get in, and she's like, well, if you leave the line, you can't come back. And then I was like, I've been standing here for 45 minutes. And she's like, leave the line. You can't rejoin the line. I was like, you're not making you're not listening to me. And I understand, like, I was getting really frustrated at that point and I was probably very rude, but I was like, I know this is what you're supposed to say when someone can't leave the line, but that's when the characters are here, right? Like you can't leave the line when the characters are here. I'm asking you, we've been waiting for 45 minutes. Are they returning? And then she couldn't tell me if they were returning or not. So at that point I sent Ryder and Ray to Tower of Terror. I waited and she said she was going to come back with a supervisor. I waited for 10 minutes and she never came back. So I figured like, at that point she's BSing me.
Yeah. I doubt they came back because it
started
pouring.
And I actually did say that. I did say that I looked at the weather report and I said, okay, it's not stopping. We're leaving. So I went over to Tower of Terror, and then that's when we all went on Rock and Roller Coaster. My husband said that the Tower of Terror cast members saw that he was upset, and we're like, which elevator do you like? They let him pick not only the seat, but they let him pick which elevator he wanted to go in.
Yeah, and I'm sure it didn't help. It was, I mean, even though he goes late, it certainly didn't help that it was midnight.
He's tired.
He's tired, but that's
it was and as a parent, like I said in my recap, I said the only person that didn't cry that night was Ray. Right, because I did too. Because I felt off. I was like, man, I made this kid go. I made this kid go see the Disney holiday show. Like, we should have gone. And I was, and there's nothing you can do, right?
It
didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen because Disney management it made a conscious decision that night that paying guests, their experience didn't matter. That the most important thing for them was to get good content PR. So they could good PR, good content so they could sell it the other 7 nights. It didn't matter.
Except they didn't get good PR because they got a lot of people that complained about this event.
Yeah.
And I mean, we probably should wrap this up. We've been talking for over an hour.
Yep.
But overall, I'll talk about my experience. I rated it on a scale of 1 to 5. I said it was about a 3. I got what I expected out of it because I expect these hard ticket events to have stupid long lines for characters and stupid long lines for food.
Right.
And so all I wanted out of it was I wanted Rise of the Resistance. I wanted some short lines, but we did not do a lot. We rode 4 rides. We saw the 2 shows. And that was kind of all we did. And we did get the food at whatchamacallit. But the end, I don't want to blame Disney for the end, but we didn't see the fireworks because it was pouring and we were just like, we're out. And I think a lot of people did that.
I was shocked. When we came out of Rock and Roller Coaster, I was shocked they were happening.
Yeah, me too.
But I don't blame Disney for rain.
No.
What I will blame Disney for is you're going to put your character meets outside in the bad weather. I don't know, maybe they do that at the other parties too, but
some of them, but they have a contingency plan,
right? You should
and the thing is, an animation, I don't know if you ever made it to Animation Courtyard. The other Mickey and Minnie were undercover, but Donald and Daisy and Goofy and Pluto were not. And they were not in the regular spaces where like the Vampirina and stuff was that are covered. So they put them in spaces that weren't covered. So they would have had to move too.
Yeah. So again, it never even occurred to me to go to see characters because I was like, I know these are going to be all too long. I only got 4 hours. I want to see these other things. So I got what I wanted out of it. I don't know that I would do it again. I don't think, hearing what you guys experienced, I would have been upset if that's what I had wanted out of the party and that's what I got.
Yeah.
But for me, I was like short lines for rides and the 2 shows. If that's all you want, and to see the stuff, I mean, we got a couple of photo pass pictures and we took some pictures and stuff, but we didn't worry about the food for the most part. We didn't worry about the characters. And because of that, it really wasn't a bad experience. But I don't think I would do this again.
Was it worth the price tag? That's the thing.
It was cool. It was cool doing something new. And one thing we didn't comment on, there was a ton of people dressed up, which I thought was really cool. A lot of people dressed kind of to the nines and everything. I mean, we all did that, right? And I thought that was cool.
Show your photo.
I never wear suspenders. My daughter was like, oh, "You're putting on suspenders," and you can see she was just dressed in a t-shirt because we told her she didn't have to dress up, but she was there and she was like, "I feel bad that I didn't dress up because so many people are dressed up."
And then here's me then in mode.
Oh, how cute!
Yeah.
So I think to me it was like I'm not a fan of hard ticket events.
Right.
I think it's one and done. The shows I did like, but I wouldn't pay to see them again, either of them. I agree. And there wasn't anything else about the party. I think if it was just for the short lines, I'd almost rather do a
Moonlight Magic.
Well, definitely a Moonlight Magic because it's free. But like the after hours events, if you want just short lines for rides, those aren't as expensive as this is.
Yeah, but this one also had an extra hour.
Okay, that was the other thing though.
Yeah. After hours are 3 hours. But I think
usually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but that would probably make more of a difference at like Magic Kingdom or something, because Hollywood Studios, you could do them all in 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, if we had ignored the shows, you could have ridden everything in the park during this party. But if you're just, I don't know, I think if you're just doing it for that, you might as well do an after hours.
Well, I would say,
but if you want to use it as an after hours, fine. And then maybe see one or two of the shows. If you want to experience like all the stuff, I don't think you're going to have the influencer problem.
No, you're not going to have the influencer problem like we did. No.
Yeah.
No.
But the other problem is you get nothing. Like you get nothing for your price tag. Like when you go to the when you go to the Halloween parties, you get candy, you get treats. When you go to the Christmas party, you get treats, you get drinks. There was nothing. There was nothing offered for your price tag either. And I thought that's odd. There was nothing. Except for the coaster at the end.
Yeah,
I like the coaster. I like the coaster. Yeah,
nothing else.
Yeah.
No.
I will say we touched on this, but there was also a con was miscommunication. I mentioned it like when they left, one person was saying they may come back, one person was saying they were gone for the night. The other thing that happened was you get a wristband and a lanyard. So when we got the lanyard, I was kind of confused and I said, "What's this for?" And they said, "Oh, it's just another form of identification." I said, "Do you have to wear it?" And he said, "No, we all put them on." And then when I took the photo in front of, or the only photo that we did besides the magic shots that night, which is odd for us, in front of the Tower of Terror, the lanyard was like literally in front of Ryder's face. Like it's like, poor kid. So I took it off after that point, and then he didn't like it. And then Ray didn't like it. So we put them all, and we did bring our stroller. Yes, my son is almost 8 and we brought our stroller. I was thankful at the end of the night. And we put them all in the stroller because we just brought the stroller and then we parked it. We weren't planning on using it all night. We just wanted it for the end of the night. So we left it there. Well, there was twice in the night that somebody said, "Well, where's your lanyard?" I said, "I have my wristband." They're like, "No, you need your lanyard too." I said, "Well, the guy told me that it was either or." And he's like, "Well, you need both." And I was like, it's in my stroller, and the stroller's by Tower of Terror. I don't even remember. I think it was when we were getting into Who's This or What's This. And then there was another time too. And I was like, I'm not, I'm getting in. But I've heard there was 2 people, like I've heard from at least 2 people that were denied entry into venues because they didn't have their lanyard. And that's, again, miscommunication. Do you need both or do you not need both? And if you had a wristband, I understand, like, you wanted to make it easy if you had both, but then don't tell people it's like, and this again, all of this could have been done. You had everybody who bought tickets. Send an email 2 days before with all the offerings, with the map. Why are we waiting until the first party to give a map so people can figure out where to go in the dark?
Yeah, because I did find that odd because they did that. They released that early for Mickey's Merry. Now, obviously, that's been going on for many, many years, but still, they released all that stuff for that. We did get a little bit of stuff released.
Yeah.
We got the showtime.
We didn't know where it was going to be.
We didn't know anything.
Yeah.
They should have had a list like,
we had the lanyards on, but every ride we went on, they asked to see, like, we had to hold up our hand and show them the wristband.
Yeah, that too. You had a wristband.
The wristband makes a lot more sense because the lanyard you can give to someone else.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Like, I understood if you had the lanyard and you didn't have your wristband, but we had the wristband, and I mean, we're dressed to the nines. I didn't want that. The lanyard was fun. It was fun to keep, but I didn't want it in my pictures. I was sad I was upset that I didn't take it off.
Covering his face with it.
Yeah, no,
poor kid.
Toy. Do you have a picture there to show people?
I don't. It didn't come in.
Oh, it's not in the thing? Yeah. No. So, but yeah, so that was, you can see it on my Instagram or on my personal page. But, so that was the only thing. Like, that was, again, just miscommunication between Disney. Like, and again, they set the cast members up to fail. Like, that was Shannon, not fair to the cast members.
Would you do this again? Or is this like, I'm sorry I did it? Or is it one and done?
I think the true test is how it's going to go this Saturday. what's going to happen this Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, I think and I'll be honest, we didn't have a bad time. I kind of like you. I kind of expected the lines. Yes, I wanted to try things. I was disappointed in a lot of things, but I really wasn't. If what happened at Phineas and Ferb, even if we didn't see them, but because of the rain and we weren't interrupted by the influencers, I would not have been upset. Like I would have been disappointed, but not upset and not furious like I was. That whole situation, you know, almost ruined my night. So it's hard for me to say, because other than that, we were having a great time. And again, I kind of said we were having a great time until we did it.
Yeah.
Until we did it. And we ended up salvaging the night. Ryder not that he doesn't remember the whole thing with Phineas and Ferb, he does, but he remembers the end. Like he's 7, you know, it's the last thing he remembers. And him being able to, you know, tell Aerosmith about asking for some backstage passes was like the coolest thing ever.
That was
so cool. But I think it's worth it. I think the true test was going to be this Saturday. Let's see what happens this Saturday. Yeah. You're not going to have the media event. You're not going to have the issues with the influencers. Hopefully they make some contingency plans. And I think then, but I will say it's not for kids. It's not for kids. If your kid is under 42 inches and is not, or don't go. If you think you're going to go on ride, like somebody's like, I'm bringing my 2, my 5, and my 7-year-old. I'm like, well, leave the 2-year-old at home. Like the 2-year-old can't ride anything. Like the 2-year-old can ride like one thing. So definitely, you know, if you're trying to, you know, but I would say kids under 5, no, absolutely not.
Again, though, would you recommend this to?
I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend it if you want to do it as an after hours. Or if you like the shows, like if you're planning on going to the 2 shows, I think I think it wasn't bad. Like I don't think it was the worst party ever, because I got to do a lot because we knew we weren't going to Brown Derby. I would do things differently if I went again, but we did get to see the 2 shows. So, and we did get to do the 2 magic shots. So I feel like now I don't think we got our money's worth, but I didn't ask for a refund. People were telling me I should ask, and a lot of people did get refunds.
It did go very fast. That was a big, because realistically, we did 4 rides and we saw 2 shows, and that's what we did.
Right.
In the 4 hour, it wasn't quite 4 hours because I said we left 15 minutes before the end, but you know, pretty close to the end. What about you, Gina? Experience you would do it again or forget it?
I would not do this again. I would just
have cool events in California.
We do. I would just dress dapper at home. Yeah, that would. And we have, you know, I think Hollywood Studios is dapper, so maybe just to create a dapper event there, just to have. I think that's what Disney should do, is just do a dapper event there.
So instead of $500, I'm going to buy a plane ticket. I'm going to go stay with Gina, and we're going to dress up dapper and go to Disneyland.
Exactly.
Okay, there we go. There we go. We're done.
Yeah, as I said, for me, I kept my expectations low, and I had a good time.
You were smart. Yeah.
Our family had a good time. It was, I don't think any of the hard ticket events are worth what they cost nowadays. I think $200 for the Halloween party, or even if I get candy per person, $179 or whatever for the Christmas party.
Yeah, at least
this was a little bit cheap. But yeah, I agree. It would have been nice to have gotten a Christmas cookie or something. Stupid things like that make you feel better about
about your
ridiculous
$180
prices, don't they?
Yeah.
But so I think we're slightly positive, depending on how you would do the event. I don't think any of us are going to rush back and do it next year necessarily, though.
No, and I think a lot will depend on. And honestly, I don't think it's going to be back next year. But I would be shocked if it's back next year, unless it really makes a turnaround. I don't know, unless it makes it. I don't know. I also think maybe Hollywood Studios isn't designed for hard ticket events.
The other thing is the merch. They could have made a killing if they had a pin. If they had a pin, they would have made a killing. They had
they had one t-shirt.
One.
Yeah. And they sold out like within like 15 minutes of
all the t-shirt.
The t-shirts. They only had small and medium after 8:45.
Wow. Yeah, we got the t-shirt. That's the one thing I did do, is get the t-shirt. That was waited in that line.
I did look at the t-shirt after that. I did not realize they were out of the larger sizes, but I looked at it and it was the same image on the map, and I didn't even really think it was that great. So
It's not. It was the one thing that was
yeah.
for sale.
So
anyway.
I mean, I think I don't necessarily not recommend it. I think you just have to do what Pete did. Keep your expectations low. Take your time. Honestly, I would have not ride the rides before the party. I probably would have gotten something to eat before the party and then gone and ride the rides once the party started or once the park closed. Like that's probably what we should have done. I probably would have done if I were to go back, I would do things differently. I don't necessarily think it's a bad event. I think the true test will be this Saturday, but I'm not telling people you should cancel your tickets.
Don't.
I think if you have kids, you should. I think if you have kids,
I would say it didn't. If you have, as you say, Ryder was probably like the lower limit.
Yeah.
That's the
and
I think 7 is as young as it should be.
Yeah. Because you have to be able to, like the of the two shows, one of the shows isn't even really for kids.
Yep.
The rides there aren't for little kids.
Yep.
You know, I just think I think they were right to try to market this a little more towards adults. And I will say,
but they marketed it towards adults in October.
Right. It was originally,
It wasn't when the tickets went on sale in June. There was no mention that this was an adult event.
But it did feel like there weren't a ton of kids there.
Not the first night. I think that was because there was a lot of vloggers and stuff.
Yeah.
I do belong to a group on Facebook for planning, and there were a lot of people that have since canceled their tickets and have gotten refunds or have switched their tickets to Christmas parties because they basically called Disney and said, you didn't market this. You didn't say, and they waited to the first party. And then they said, it's obviously not for kids. And then Disney didn't even question it. They were either switched over to the Christmas party. But if the Christmas party was sold out for their date or they already had Christmas party tickets, they were issuing refunds for future tickets.
Yeah.
I did hear they were giving refunds Sunday and Monday morning for people that called to complain. But as of Monday afternoon, they were no longer giving refunds that called for people that called out about Saturday night.
Yeah.
So
and I will say my experience, there was never a point at which I felt I needed a refund.
No.
I felt I got what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the greatest thing I've ever done? No. Was it? It didn't upset me. As I said, I looked at it as, and the other thing is I looked at it as I always pay $25 to ride Rise anyways.
Yeah.
So I saved $25 by going to this party. So that reduced the ticket cost.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
So, but okay. I think we can wrap this up.
Yep. I think
we
so
went
too.
pretty long. Thank you for those that joined in live listening, and this will be available on our YouTube channel here for My DVC Points, and we'll also be we're going to try to get it up in the next day or so on all the different podcasting networks, so you can listen to it in your car or whatever. But we will have this out soon. So thank you for joining us if you did. And thank you for listening if you listen to it after the fact.
Yeah.
And if you go to Jollywood Nights, post about it on the My DVC Points Facebook page. Let's hear what you think. Especially if you weren't at the first one. How was your experience different from what we saw? Were the lines a little more under control? Did they make any changes? We want to hear about it. So,
and if you want to see my vlog is up on my channel, Shannon Ford. So I have a vlog and I have a recap. My recap was pretty much everything I just said here, so you probably don't need to watch that. But you can watch the vlog and you can see firsthand, the lines and what things looked like.
I was there and I watched your video, and what you showed was very different from what I experienced. So it was well worth watching to me, who was even there.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend that.
Because I think it depends. Like we never went back to Toy Story Land, so I think if we had gone back to Toy Story Land, it would have been a different experience.
Yeah.
So, but okay. Well, thanks everyone.
All right.
Night.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, please watch your head and step as you exit, and take small children by the hand.
Aw, chill up, Dad. You know I'll come back. With DVC.
My DVC Points is an unofficial Disney-inspired podcast created by fans of Disney Vacation Club. The thoughts expressed in this podcast are personal opinions and personal experiences. My DVC Points is not affiliated with Disney Vacation Club, the Walt Disney Companies, or any subsidiaries. We encourage listeners to contact their DVC guide or member services for official DVC policies.